Welcome to Environmental Science, Chapter 1, An Introduction to Environmental Science, and Section 1. This is our first lecture. So the central case study here focuses on what we call the hole in the sky and how we can go about fixing it. And what you should do is read over the central case study. It talks about ozone depletion and what happens when we used harmful chemicals and the mixing of oxygen with oxygen gas and then ozone itself, which is O3. So how does UV radiations and stuff break down there? So basically a little introduction to that. The ozone is a naturally occurring molecule that absorbs and redirects harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. You have both good and bad types of ozone. The good ozone is when we speak of the ozone layer, but you also tend to form ozone closer to ground, and that is a pollutant. In the 1970s, Mario Molina and Sherwood Rowland discovered that CFCs, also known as chlorofluorocarbons, were rapidly destroying ozone in the stratosphere. And today, most nations have banned chlorofluorocarbons, and the ozone hole is expected to close up around 2050. So, to think about it, should environmental scientists' discoveries about the natural world influence human activity? If so, how? So think about the work here and some environmental issues that are taking place in your own backyard or within your state or within the United States or globally. Think about the environmental issues that we face today. And should the work of environmental scientists influence our activity? Have you made any changes in your life due to the work of environmental scientists and new research studies that have come about to make you more environmentally and ecologically friendly as a person? So, lesson 1.1, our island Earth. We live in a unique planet that sustains life. And basically, like all species on Earth, humans rely on that healthy functioning planet for the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we eat. And then in addition to that, we need shelter. So in lesson 1.1, here's our guiding question. How does environmental scientists, or excuse me, how does environmental science help us understand the natural world? So as we go through, think about that question. How does environmental science help us understand the natural world? Well, what is our natural world? Our planet is kind of like Goldilocks' perfect place. It's the perfect soup. It's the perfect bed. It's perfect. It's perfect distance from the sun to sustain life on Earth. So what is environmental science? And what is it when we say, actually, let me go back to this slide here. So here we have planet Earth, and we have the air, we have water, we have food, and we have shelter. These are things that we get from our environment. And you have used that term, you probably use it on a daily basis. Oh, the environment. It's wet, it's cold, it's dry, it's hot, it's humid. You could say that if you're in a forest environment, the ocean environment, basically you use this term and you may not really think about what it means. And basically when you use the word environment, it includes all the living and non-living things which organisms interact. So it includes the continents, the oceans, the clouds, ice caps. And you could see all that in the visible photo of Earth from space. You could see our atmosphere and cloud formation. Our planet is considered the blue planet because it is covered with mostly water. And most of that water is marine water, salt water. You could see the ice caps at the poles and some that exist at the high altitudes of mountain ranges. So the environment includes remote areas rarely visible to people, but it also includes all the buildings, urban centers, houses that people have built, as well as the complex webs of social relationships that shape our daily lives. This is what creates our environment. And humans are a part of the environment. So, why do we want to study more about environmental science? Well, what is environmental science? Here in the picture, we could see the National Marine Fisheries Service scientists studying whether commercial boats are harming endangered killer whales. And this would be an organization. When you talk about the National Marine Fisheries Service, it's an organization under NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, federal government organization in the United States. So, environmental scientists study environmental science. And environmental science is the study of our planet's natural systems. And when we talk about those natural systems, we talk about all those things that we discussed that makes up the environment. So we talk about the hydrosphere, the geosphere, the atmosphere. We talk about the living world, which would be the biosphere. And we talk about everything that we do in that system, including our social interactions that make up the environment. So environment includes all living and non-living things with which organisms interact. And it's key to understand the interactions between humans and the environment, because that is the first step to solving environmental problems successfully. You need to understand that. And part of this course is called environmental science, and the other part is ecology. So we study environment and ecology, and we'll look at the difference between the two. So, a broad definition for environmental science is environmental science. Its objective is unbiased pursuit of knowledge. Just like any science, it's an unbiased pursuit of knowledge. So that means it's based on facts and what we know. And from those facts, we come up with predictions. So it's an unbiased pursuit of knowledge about the workings of the environment and our interactions with it. Now, typically, to be considered an environmental scientist, you have to have some schooling. But any one of us, whether you're educated or not, can be an environmentalist, because it is a social movement. When you talk about environmentalism, you're talking about the social movement that is dedicated to protecting the natural world. So, this kind of idea of protecting the planet, environmental science, and environmentalism, can you think about when this came about in the United States? What time frame? Think about it for a minute. Now I'm going to give you a little clue. In 9th grade, you probably read a book by a Pennsylvania native, an environmental scientist by the name of Rachel Carson. And actually, our Department of Environmental Protection Agency in Pennsylvania, out in Harrisburg, is stationed in the building, which is named after Rachel Carson. Basically, Rachel Carson, the story you would have read by Rachel Carson is called Silent Spring. Rachel Carson brought about this awareness about DDT and its use and how it was affecting bird populations, because DDT, as it would be brought into the food chain, it would accumulate in birds and it would have an effect on the thickness of the shells of birds. So the eggs would often crack, and therefore the young bird in the egg that wouldn't have hatched yet would die, because there's no longer the shell to support the growth and development of the egg. So she brought about this awareness of DDT and its use. And from that and the work of some others sparked this new, in the late 60s, this new field of science that we now call environmental science. So it is the youngest science. And it's an interdisciplinary science because it includes so many areas. When you talk about environmental science, you're not just looking at environmental science. You have to have a broad base of knowledge. So to be an environmental scientist that is truly effective in the job, to understand, you need to know both the sciences, biology, chemistry, geology, the earth sciences, oceanography. You need to have a good understanding of both the sciences, the social sciences, so that's government, history, law, economics. All these play an important role. You need to understand and know how to effectively communicate through writing and talking. You need to be a good listener. You need to be able to do research. You need to be able to actually have a good background in anthropology, all those things. So environmental science and environmental scientists use all these skills. If you're thinking about maybe majoring in environmental science, you're going to focus as an environmental science major more on looking at the science aspect of environmental science. But there's also a study that you could take up in college called environmental studies. And when you do environmental studies, you're looking at more of these social aspects. So you're looking at more coursework related to environmental issues from the social science end. So that would be the difference between a BA, a Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies, versus a BS, a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science. So there you have a little bit of an overview of what environmental science is versus environmental studies versus environmentalism. But no matter what you study, in some way or another, it is interdisciplinary, which means it incorporates many things, many areas of knowledge from the social sciences, the natural sciences, so on and so forth. So, population resources, and our resources population goes up, we see our resources come down. So first, what is a natural resource? Well, you could think about natural resource as its definition of materials and energy sources that are found in nature that humans need to survive. So there are basically two types of resources that we look at. Those that are which are renewable resources and can naturally be replenished over short periods of time, versus those resources which are non-renewable, and those are naturally formed and require a lot more time. So therefore, they are formed more slowly than we use them. So our consumption of those resources occurs at a greater pace than to which they can be formed. So examples of renewable natural resources would be things like sunlight, wind energy, wave energy, geothermal energy. These are all renewable resources and also renewable types of energy that we are now starting to kind of take interest in the United States. Wind energy, if you look up on the Frackville Mountain, you can see the wind turbines. Wave energy, putting things in where there's a lot of wave activity, which turns turbines to produce electricity. Solar energy. Solar energy is a lot more common in today's day and age than it was when I was growing up as a young man. Now you could get solar panels installed on your house. There are fields, athletic fields, that have solar panels in them. Even light posts have little solar panels at the top to absorb enough solar energy to light that light post or that traffic sign throughout the day. Geothermal energy, we tap into Earth's core and we could have a natural system of cooling and heating inside buildings. This is actually another popular area that's growing. We're starting to create businesses, schools, even houses are starting to use geothermal energy. You could have a totally green house. You could have that little windmill in your yard to create some energy. You could have solar panels on your roof. You could have tap into the Earth's core for geothermal energy and have a truly sustainable house that's green, certified. Then you have those resources that are non-renewable natural resources, and you think of that as the crude oil, the natural gas, and the natural gas industry has exploded in our country, especially in Pennsylvania. You hear a lot about natural gas and fracking. Coal, copper, aluminum, and other metals. These are all non-renewable resources. Just think of those top three. Crude oil, okay, oil drilling came about in Pennsylvania, how to drill for oil, and then our state alone, the coal industry and steel has helped build America, and now we're being a good supplier of natural gas in the Marcellus Shale area. And then, of course, you have those resources that are in between, those that are renewable and non-renewable.